Life is directed by Daniel Espinosa and stars a humongous cast of very talented people, and to sum up the plot, I'm going to tell you what I knew going in, because I just watched the teaser. I knew nothing else, I stayed away from all info, so I knew that the movie was about some astronauts who discover life on Mars, and it's not a comedy. So it's probably not going to be like a cakewalk. Shit happens. That's all I'm going to say. If a film involves characters who are isolated in space and something bad's happening, I have a serious soft spot for that. One of my least favorite directors of all time is Paul W.S. Anderson, and I can still tolerate and actually own the Blu-ray of Event Horizon, because that film is heavily inspired by Alien, which is one of my favorites of all time, and obviously this movie takes a lot of inspiration from Alien as well. But at the same time, there's a different approach to the formula here. Where Alien is more of a science fiction horror film, this is almost a non-fiction horror film. This is more of a realistic look at what would happen if we found a biological life form and things did not go as planned. It's not so much like a giant spaceship filled with eggs and there's a colony of, it's nothing like that. It's kind of more realistic, and it's a lot more grounded than I expected it to be, which is something I really liked about Life, and overall I had a blast watching it. This was a very suspenseful film, considerably better than Daniel Espinosa's last film, Safe House, which in itself wasn't awful, but this is definitely a step up. In regards to CG, this movie's gorgeous. All the stuff in space, the way Earth looks, the space station itself, the entity that eventually develops, it all looks really fucking good. Whenever you have a movie that's very reliant on CG to accomplish certain things, it can suck you out of the film if it's not convincing enough. And in this film, they really nailed it. This is a gorgeous looking movie. All the actors also really excellent in this movie. Rebecca Ferguson, Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds. My favorite Japanese actor of all time, Hiroyuki Sanada, is in this movie, and as always, he's fantastic. The entire cast is phenomenal in this movie. One of the standouts is definitely Rebecca Ferguson. I was a little disappointed in Jake Gyllenhaal's character, not so much his performance. I found that his character was one of the weaker aspects of the movie. There wasn't that much to him. He has a hatred sort of for people on Earth, and he just really likes being in space. He doesn't really feel that he actually wants to go back to Earth. He's about to set a record for consecutive days spent in space, and so his character doesn't have much to him besides the fact that he's very antisocial. And I was disappointed in that, because he's usually the guy I zero in on in movies as the best part of the movie he's in. But again, his performance wasn't the problem. His character was just underdeveloped. There's another actor in the film whose name I'm not going to butcher until he eventually becomes more famous and suddenly we all hear his name a lot, like Mahershala Ali. Now I can say that because we've all heard it so many times. The actor in this film who portrays the main scientist who operates on this creature is really, really great. And he has a disability in the film that the writers found a very clever way to utilize as an aspect to up the horror that I genuinely did not expect. This movie had me on edge throughout the majority, in fact. It is very suspenseful. As I said, the CG and the acting is very top-notch. You really get the sense of isolation that the filmmaker was going for. The opening sequence is this very long take that's of course melded together with CGI and various cuts, but it looks gorgeous, it really looks beautiful, and I was really surprised by Life. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I went in knowing nothing about it. I love doing that nowadays. I'm not even watching any more trailers for Alien Covenant. I saw the one and I'm done. I don't want to know anything. I want to go into movies knowing as less as possible. It makes the experience better. And in the case of Life, after seeing it, a friend of mine was like, "Did you hear about that rumor about what this movie was actually about?" And I was like, "No." And he told me. I'll talk to you guys about that after I give my grade, because it's not really a spoiler, but it could affect your expectations going in, and I wouldn't want to do that to you unless you were aware of what I was about to talk about. It's tough to watch this movie and not be reminded of other movies that are better. Pretty much any movie in space where characters are dealing with something terrifying, you're going to think of Alien. Even the movie Sunshine by Danny Boyle has shades of Alien in there. We've all seen movies about people having some sort of horrible thing happen to them in space. I enjoy those movies quite a bit if they're well made, and Life is definitely one of the better ones. I'm going to give it a B+. So again, this isn't a spoiler, but it might affect your expectations going in. There was a rumor going around that this movie was an unofficial setup for Venom. It's not. It's really not. And I just find it hilarious that the one movie coming out right now that's like a big, giant movie that's not a sequel, it's not a reboot, it's not a spin-off, it's not a prequel, it's nothing, it's just a movie, we still had to turn it into an unofficial comic book prequel before it even came out. Yeah. I find that hilarious. So guys, thank you so much as always for watching. I've been working on a Rogue One analysis since December, and I can finally release it this weekend because the footage is coming out on digital, so I'll be able to complete the movie and cut in some of the various shots I need to do. So I look forward to sharing that with you guys. As always, if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.